today we're going to look at our new unit, Unit 6, which involves fractions. Now, we're going to start out our unit by looking at mixing a fraction and a whole number, multiplying them together. So, let's start out by looking at our student outcome. Number one, which is, I can multiply a fraction and a whole number. And the second one is looking at problem solving involving multiplication of a fraction and a whole number. Okay, so you want to make sure that you can do multiplication of a fraction and a whole number, and that you can also solve problems, like problem solving, involving multiplication of a fraction and a whole number. Now, a couple things we're going to look at. Key terms for today is the term proper fraction, which is the denominator, or the bottom number, is greater than the numerator, or the top number. So example, 1 over 2 or 5 over 6. And just to make sure you know what I'm saying, 1 over 2. So you can see here, the denominator, which is the bottom number, is greater, so it's bigger, than the top number, which is right there. The next term, it says an improper fraction. It says the numerator is greater than the denominator. So example, 7 over 2 or 4 over 3. And again, just to draw it for you here, 7 over 2. Look at it again. We've got our numerator, which is our top number, is greater. So there's our top number, which is greater than our denominator, which is 2. So we have 7 over 2. Well, that's an improper fraction. And the last one, mixed number. This includes a whole number and a proper fraction. So I tried to write as best I could on a keyboard, but I'm just going to draw it better for you down here. So what you'll see is something like this. As 1, which is our whole number, and 1/4. That's what I mean by that. Or we're looking at even 4, there's our whole number, and 3 over 6. So there we've got our whole number, which is 4, and we've got our fraction, but not just a fraction, a proper fraction, which means that the denominator is bigger than the numerator, and that's right there. So let's look at our first example of how to actually multiply these whole numbers and fractions together. So if we're going to multiply a whole number and a proper fraction together, we're going to look at this method first, which is multiply using a model. Now, in this case, step 1, if we're going to look at a question that's going to be 3, oh, you can't really see it very well. Let's try that in a different color. Let's go with red. Okay. Looking at the question, 3 times 5 over 6 can be our question. So when we're looking at this question, the first step is turn the multiplication into addition. Well, we can say 3 times 5 over 6 is like saying that there's 3 5 over 6. We're on to know, that there's going to be 3 5 over 6. So it's like saying 5 over 6 plus 5 over 6 plus 5 over 6, right? We started out with the 3 times, now we've written into multiplication, turned into not division, sorry, into addition. Now, step 2 says model your addition. This is where you actually have to draw some kind of a model. So for me, I'm going to draw a model. Well, what's 5 over 6 look like? Now here, I've got, it says 5 over 6, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 open spaces. Well, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, and there's 5. 1 5 over 6. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's another 5 over 6. And let's do our last one. 3, 4, 5. There. Now you can see there, I've created my model that draws and shows what 5 over 6 is. Step 3, it says count your shaded area and write it over the denominator, which is our bottom number. Well, let's take a look then here. We've got, sorry, my marker's not working. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 we've got, okay? So it says we're going to count it. We got 15. And then it says to write it over a denominator. Well, our original denominator you can see here in the middle, was 6. So we're going to write it as 15 over 6. And the last step says write it in lowest terms. Well, if we look at 15 and 6, we know they both can be divided by 3. If I divide 15 by 3, I'm going to get 5, and if I divide 6 by 3, I am going to get 2. So therefore, lowest terms, our answer is 5 over 2. Now this is one method, because remember, everybody learns differently. So if this method works great for you, awesome. Go with this method for multiplying these whole numbers and fractions together. If this doesn't work for you and you're not really a good visual learner, that's fine. We're going to try a method in a couple minutes using a different method. So I want you to try one example here on your own, though, using the method 1. I'd like you to try out this question. 2 times 5 over 6. Use the method number 1 using modeling to please solve that. So you can pause it here if you like, and then unpause it when you're done, and we can keep going with this question. Alright, hopefully we're good to go. Let's look at it here. Well, 2 times 5 over 6. Well, step 1 for this method clearly indicated that we've got to turn the multiplication into addition. Well, 2 times 5 over 6 is like saying 5 over 6 plus 5 over 6. Step 1 completed. Step 2 is we have to model our addition. Well, just like before, I'm going to draw my little model. Plus 6, and we said that each one had 5 shaded in. This one had 5 shaded in. There we go. Now we've modeled our addition. 5 out of 6 cube space is taken up in each one. Step 3 says we need to count our shaded areas and write over our original denominator. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, we got 10 over, and our original denominator was 6. 10 over 6. Now we're not done yet, because step 4 says to put it into lowest terms. So we know that 10 can be divided by 2. And we know that 6 can be divided by 2, which gives us 5 over 3. And in this case, we've got our answer as 5 over 3. Let's look at the method 2 now. Now method 2 says we're just going to apply multiplications. Well, this one's a little bit more simplistic with the steps because there's only 2 of them. If I'm going to give you guys the problem, like in the first one, 3 times 5 over 6 to work with, well, let's follow these steps then. Step 1 says to multiply your whole number by your numerator, which again is your top number. Well, that's essentially like saying 3 here times 5 over 6. Well, all we're doing is taking this 3 and multiplying it by the 5, which is like saying 3 times 5, which we know is 15. So that should essentially give us 15 over 6. Step 2, write it in lowest terms. Well, we've got 15, we got our 6, we divide them both by 3. We've now got 5 over 3, or 2, sorry. What am I thinking? 5 over 2. So the important term for this one is just that when you're doing it, you need to make sure that you're making sure this whole number is multiplying onto our numerator. And that's it. Multiply them together and put it over the original denominator and you're good to go. So I'll give you guys a question to try here. Give this one a shot. 3 multiplied by 1/8. So again, you can pause it here and play it when you finish the example. And we'll begin shortly. with this one here, step 1 was to multiply our whole number, which is right here, by our numerator, which is right there. Well, 3 times 1 gives us 3. So essentially, our answer is 3 over 8, because you put it over your original denominator. Now, step 2 said lowest terms, but luckily for us, this is already in lowest terms. You can't go any lower than that, so that is our answer. Now, as I promised back in the student outcome, we have one little thing left to do, and that's looking at problem solving. So with the problem solving, here's our question. I know Jamin will love this one. A spider has 8 legs. An ant has 3/4 as many legs as a spider. How many legs does an ant have? Well, to do this, we've got to write down what we know first. So we know we're working with the number 8, because we're looking at the amount of legs that a spider has. And then there's our fraction right there. Our fraction is 3/4. So an ant has 3/4 as many legs as a spider. How many legs does an ant have? Well, we've got our information here now, and it just becomes solving like before. You could pick either method if you wanted to model it, or go with method 2. Personally, I'm going to show this one with method 2. So let's take a look then here. We got 8. Method 2, it says that you have to times your whole number by your numerator. So 8 times 3 is going to give me 24. I'm going to put that over my original denominator, which was 4. Step 2 said put it in lowest terms. Well, 24 and 4 can both be divided by 4 itself. So if we look at 24 divided by 4, we're going to get 6. And 4 divided by 4 is 1. So the answer is 6 over 1, or just 6. So this has been our lesson looking at how to multiply a whole number and a fraction together. Please check some more videos below. If this wasn't clear for you, I'm going to post a couple more videos as well by other professionals that show you how to do the same concept, and keep posted for your assignment for this unit. Thanks, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.